Part 36. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 352. Tonight's dinner was quite special. I called President Su to accompany him, but Tianjun was not called. There were two women in their 30s and 40s. Lu Feng pushed the door and entered the private room. Hao Donggren didn't seem to be surprised by Lu Feng's arrival. He said, "Mr. Lu came very early. Hurry up and sit down. Deputy Mayor Lu will be here soon." "Is this Mr. Lu?" So young, the woman next to her hurriedly stood up and became polite. Lu Feng shook hands, feeling that the woman in front of him was very good at saying, looking at her appearance, she was definitely a beautiful person when she was in her 20s, but unfortunately she is a little fatter now. As he spoke, a few words left the atmosphere of the scene up. "I'm the general manager of Kaitu Entertainment. My surname is Wu. If you don't mind, just call me Sister Wu." Lu Feng agreed with a smile, looked at Hao Donggren and said, "Mr. Hao really has a lot of talent under his command. Sister Wu's clever mouth can definitely bring the dead to life." "Your Sister Wu is mainly skilled in her mouth," said the sister next to her. "How do you say it's so nasty?" Everyone present laughed, and Lu Feng sat there and laughed. The two women seemed to be talking crosstalk. Although some of the words were vulgar, they were the same at the dinner. The 1990s was an era of polarization. There were conservative women like Zhang Xiaoyan, and there were women who were extremely open. Some dinners were eating, and the clothes disappeared. People who listened were dumbfounded. However, this was actually staged. After speaking, the private room door was pushed open again, Lu Quan stepped in, and President Su and Hao Donggren hurriedly stood up. "I'm so happy to have you here, please take your seat," Hao Donggren greeted him. Sister Wu, who was next to her, took a look and said, "Vice Mayor Lu looks like a cultural person. I have also seen many officials. It is the first time I have seen such an elegant person. I don't dare to be elegant, but I went to school for 2 days," Lu Quan said calmly. "Let's just say that Luohu district is doing really well now, but it was messed up in the past. I thought it was the credit of District Chief Hu. When I think about his incompetence, when I see you today, I know the reason." "That's it." Sister Wu sat down and said, "An elegant person is in charge of a place, and the place becomes more elegant." "It makes some sense." Lu Quan put on a smile, obviously caring about this compliment, and asked Lu Feng casually, "Why did you come here?" "I'm here to eat." Lu Feng sorted out the mess of plates, saucers, and teacups in front of him and said, "I'm alone when my daughter-in-law isn't here, just looking for a place to eat." "It's the right place, I'm also here to eat," Lu Quan said casually. Sister Wu saw something wrong with the scene. The woman next to her found something to talk about, and the two started chatting. By the way, Mr. Hao and Mr. Su were brought in. They made trouble and laughed when they needed to. Lu Feng had to admit that this meal was the happiest meal he had ever eaten. Sister Wu was always able to mobilize the atmosphere so that everyone present could integrate into the atmosphere of the scene and find their own position. This ability is innate. It is necessary to grasp the temperature of the atmosphere at the scene. If the temperature is too high, some people are easy to play and offend the leader. If the temperature is too low, the leader is not happy. After drinking 3 dishes and 5 flavors, Sister Wu came on the spot to take a piece of Take Tiger Mountain by Wisdom, which pushed the atmosphere of the scene to the high dynasty. Lu Quan also stood up and sang 2 sentences. It doesn't matter whether it sounds good or not, the key is applause. I have to apologize to President Lu here. Through this dinner, I got to know President Lu. Although we are not in the same industry, if you have any problems in the future, you can come to me." President Su stood up with wine on his body. He was angry, holding a white wine glass and a lit cigarette in one hand, and the other hand reached out to shake hands. "Will you give me this face?" "Give it," Lu Feng saw that he was a little too drunk, reached out to hold his hand, and said, "That's about Tianjun, it's all over. I just had a boring drink with Mayor Lu. I'll take a sip this time." Mr. Su took a sip. Lu Quan hiccuped, looked at Lu Feng and asked, "How is President Lu thinking?" "Such a big thing, it's not something that can be considered in a day or two. I'll be the first to give you the news when there is news," Lu Feng prevaricates. Hao Dongren kept mumbling in Lu Quan's ear. They didn't know what they were talking about, and Lu Feng didn't even bother to listen. He was here for dinner tonight. Hao Dongren used his name to give Lu Quan a step up, and they both had respect for each other. Even a escort like Sister Wu's attitude towards Lu Feng is dispensable. In her eyes, Lu Feng is a foil at the dinner table. She has participated in many dinner parties and has never missed it. They are often small people, giving a chance to participate in a dinner party, a human-shaped eating machine. Looking at the time, it was almost 10 o'clock in the evening. Hao Dongren whispered to Lu Quan for a long time. Lu Feng was already full and didn't want to wait any longer. "Come with me, eat slowly." Hao Dongren stood up and said politely, and didn't say anything more. When he left, not even a person like Sister Wu came to send him off, which shows how unimportant Lu Feng is in their eyes. After going downstairs, Lu Feng didn't care and drove home. The next afternoon, Lu Feng went to the airport to pick up Zhang Xiaoyan, and chatted about the changes at home along the way. Now the whole family has moved into the city and bought a set of staff housing that cannot be transferred. "Did you cry a lot?" Lu Feng asked. Although the little thing is a little annoying on weekdays, the thought of her staying there alone makes her a little unbearable. "She didn't cry, I cried, and I cried all the way," Zhang Xiaoyan said with red eyes again, and choked up. "That little bastard doesn't know how to feel distressed, and I want her to hug me when I leave. She's actually busy poking cow dung to play, woo woo, woo woo." Zhang Xiaoyan cried sadly. Ft, ft. Lu Feng couldn't hold back anymore, but Zhang Xiaoyan next to him was crying, and his mouth kept mumbling. "What are you laughing at? Not your daughter? It's good to play with cow dung. Don't be so soft-hearted. It's good to go back to the village during the summer vacation. The village is spacious. You can run as you want. Tell me, how to start a company? Isn't it necessary to register at the Industry and Commerce Bureau to start a company, then find factories, buy machinery, and find workers?" Zhang Xiaoyan wondered. "I still need to learn." Lu Feng glanced at Zhang Xiaoyan in surprise, and exclaimed, "You actually know so much." Zhang Xiaoyan pursed her chin slightly, and said with a bit of arrogance, "I chat with Feng Xia almost every day. She is the best professional manager in the business world. Where can I go wrong?" The best professional manager, Lu Feng couldn't help laughing. This kind of bragging was to bluff Zhang Xiaoyan. "I think Feng Xia is very good. She speaks English well, and she has seen a lot of the world. Now you manage such a big company, and you are always scolding people." "How old is she?" Zhang Xiaoyan interceded for Zhang Fengxia very much. "Opening a company is not what you said. Those are all hardware. The most important thing is software. Administrative management, market positioning, marketing, planning, product positioning, etc. There are many types of administrative management alone. How are wages determined? Performance comes, or is it dead? How to get personnel promotion, once the executives are vacant, whether it is airborne, or promotion, talent selection, and how to prevent one person from becoming dominant. For example, if a person is very capable, the company must go out of business if he leaves. What should I do? These are all management. Excellent management talents are able to make the various departments of the company cooperate, but they restrain each other and achieve a certain balance. Under this system, the worst people can't get in, and the most powerful people can't get in. It is impossible to cover the sky with one hand. There is a book called Moderate management, you can read it? Lu Feng was talking and found that Zhang Xiaoyan was silent. He turned his head and glanced at her, and found that she was staring at him dully. What's wrong? I wanted to go to sleep when I heard it, thinking it was a simple matter. Why do you talk so much? Zhang Xiaoyan asked with acute pouting. Lu Feng looked at her, dumbfounded. She was really good looking. He couldn't help but stretch out his hand and pinched her face. He originally wanted to teach her a few days of lessons. At the very least, let her understand what an enterprise is and how it works, focusing on the three departments of finance, personnel, and marketing, and then talk about the cosmetics market. Thinking about it, it's okay, she doesn't have the brain, and she spends $1 million or so to let her have a good time, and it's good for her to go out with the name of the chairman. At least I have face, I don't feel inferior, and I have something to do every day. Am I particularly stupid? Zhang Xiaoyan asked in a low voice. How is that possible? Lu Feng looked at her in surprise and said, I thought about it just now. You're right, starting a company isn't just about finding a place, finding a few people, and producing things and selling them, right? This is called Daojijian. What? Don't be surprised, you are a business genius. People like me are the easiest to complicate simple things. You are a person who wakes up with a few words, just like a martial arts secret book. Of course it is impossible to break the trick. Lu Feng stopped the car at the red light and said with a serious face, My lady, you have to promise me something. What's the matter? So serious? Zhang Xiaoyan asked in confusion. If you become rich overnight, you can't abandon me, and you can't think I'm poor, okay? Lu Feng asked very seriously. How is that possible? You lie to me, make me happy, don't tell me, don't believe it, Zhang Xiaoyan muttered. I'll be honest, although it's not the kind of instant riches, your views on business are very pure. There is a saying that the authorities are obsessed with bystanders. I have talked to many business leaders, and you are the most special one. Lu Feng with a serious face, he added, I take responsibility for this opinion. Seeing him so serious, Zhang Xiaoyan was confused by him. I secretly thought in my heart, is I really a business wizard that is 1 in a million? High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 353. Back home, Lu Feng called Zhang Xiaoyan into the bedroom, took out a suitcase, opened it, and it was full of banknotes. Why is there so much money at home? Zhang Xiaoyan exclaimed. I took it yesterday. It's a full 2 million yuan for you to start a business. Lu Feng patted the box and said. 2 million? Looking at the money, Zhang Xiaoyan may have been with Lu Feng for a long time. What she hears is tens of millions, hundreds of millions of enterprises, and 2 million to open a company. Is that enough? Staying with what kind of people will give you a different perspective. The 2 million that Zhang Xiaoyan doesn't care about is the height that many poor people want to achieve in their entire lives. In the past 2 years, she suddenly felt that the whole world has become better. The people around her have never complained about their salary or their life. It seems that they are all dressed up very delicately and will not quarrel because of a few cents or a few cents. The world is still the same world. Where they once stayed, those people are still fighting for a few cents and a few cents. Wages have risen a lot, but prices have also risen. It's just that Zhang Xiaoyan broke away from the original world. Lu Feng gave her a simple plan: first register a company, then find a few reliable people, buy a small factory with a few hundred people, then find a few designers, and then start shipping to the market. The economy here is developed, there are more girls, and there are a lot of makeup. Other cosmetics are more difficult to make. Now the main thing is to make lipstick, which sells well. The most important thing is that Lu Feng has a good understanding of lipsticks. The raw materials are relatively simple. The profit of this thing is about 700%. The main materials are beeswax, lanolin, paraffin oil, softeners, food coloring, spices, etc. A lipstick can cost $1, but you can't buy a lipstick in the market for less than $5. The cost of the outer packaging is basically the same as the cost of the lipstick itself. Lu Feng found a lot of books, all of which were recent fashion magazines, newspapers, etc. Lu Feng extracted a lot of data and drew a comprehensive map. Although it could not clearly reflect the market, it was clear from the road map. It can be seen that the most popular lipstick price on the market is $5 to $10. However, the satisfaction rate for lipsticks at this price is less than 50%. Lu Feng was drawing and explaining again. Zhang Xiaoyan was stunned while sitting there. After a long time, he asked, "What are you going to do now?" Seeing her sluggish look, Lu Feng. She knew in her heart that she was completely at a loss, and glanced at the time. It was already 6:40 in the evening. "Eat first. Since you have to do something big, let's have a meal to celebrate." Zhang Xiaoyan nodded in agreement. The two went out and went straight to a Western restaurant. They ordered the most expensive steak, as well as a few dishes and a bottle of red wine. "The most important thing now is to come up with a name," Lu Feng asked while eating. "What do you want to be called?" Zhang Xiaoyan thought about it seriously and said, "How about Fengjian Cosmetics?" Lu Feng shook his head. "This name is not very good, and the spread is average." "That's Xiaoyan Cosmetics. It's not as good as Fengjian. Don't always think about your name, think about something else." Lu Feng thought about it and said, "Get something taller. Is L'Oreal registered now?" "L'Oreal is a global brand and it is infringing." "I use L'Oreal in the field of cosmetics." Zhang Xiaoyan obviously knows more than Lu Feng. "Then call it Mona Lisa, register a catchy name, easy to remember." Zhang Xiaoyan was eating and frowned slightly. "It's not very good, by the way," Feng Xia said at once. "What's the name?" "Huasha, it seems to be related to marriage. Zhonghua's wedding dress is very meaningful anyway." Lu Feng felt that the name was all right, nodded and said, "Let's call it this one. I'll go to register the company tomorrow. This legal representative, I can't let you act as a legal representative. Buy an ID card from the market at that time, and then use the ID card to get it. In a banking industry, capital verification is required there." Lu Feng was eating and chatting with Zhang Xiaoyan very casually. He could feel that Zhang Xiaoyan was a little excited. After all, this was her first time starting her own business. Lu Feng is also very happy. She has fully devoted her mind and state to business, and she will not be so miserable. As for this factory, it's just a big toy bought for her. It doesn't matter if she loses or makes a profit. Lu Feng was eating, and he left President Zhang and Chairman Zhang in his mouth. Zhang Xiaoyan giggled, picked up the red wine glass, touched it, and Lu Feng said, "Then I represent Jiafeng Electronics and Jiafeng." The two food companies. Congratulations to President Zhang for making a lot of money and making it all the way. Zhang Xiaoyan laughed so hard that she could barely straighten her waist. She picked up the wine glass and drank it. Lu Feng himself would never have imagined that this small company called Huasha would become a leading domestic cosmetics company many years later, and it had built a brand in wedding dresses, wedding photos, and wedding planning. Of course, that's all for later. The next day, Lu Feng accompanied Zhang Xiaoyan to register the company, had lunch at noon, and booked a temporary office by the way. Because the place was too small, the office building was not rented at all. Lu Feng simply called and asked Lu Cheng to free up an office for him temporarily. "I called Feng Xia last night, and she was so excited that she said I would definitely make it. She said she wanted you to go back and watch the factory, and she came to accompany me to start a business," Zhang Xiaoyan said. Hearing this, Lu Feng rolled her eyes. She obviously wanted to come and have fun. Isn't it just fun instead of starting a business? She'd better take care of her work. Lu Feng lit a cigarette after dinner and said, let's take a look at the factory in the afternoon. I'm really not sure about this. I don't know which district has more factories. Take your time, it will take 2 or 3 months anyway, Zhang Xiaoyan said in no hurry. After eating, the two drove straight to the office building where Lu Cheng was located. When Lu Cheng received the call, he was completely stupid. Lu Feng wants to start a business. And still a cosmetic company. This made his whole brain almost shut down. After pondering for a long time, it could only be explained as preparing for the next step of the company's development. Although electronics and cosmetics are two things that are not as popular as cattle and sheep, don't they all talk about creativity now? After 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Lu Feng arrived at the company and went to Liu Ken's office first. Mr. Lu is here. Lu Cheng hurriedly stood up and said, sit down, the office has been tidied up. The size of 40 or 50 square meters is not enough. Enough. How's the recent research and development progress? Lu Feng sat down and asked. Those study teams should be sent more, and they should come back with good results, not to let them go out to play. This is natural. Before the end of the year, there should be several technologies to break the foreign monopoly, but we are not exclusive, but cooperate with other scientific research units. Next year's products will be greatly improved in terms of refresh rate, especially color resolution will go to the next level, and we have a big breakthrough in electron gun technology. Lu Feng was not too surprised about the technological breakthrough in the electron gun. After all, the technology on the market is already mature, and the image quality of Vipta is too blurry. It can only be said that everything was within expectations. Lu Feng drank some water and briefly understood the company's financial situation. Overall, it was quite healthy. The 15 million he gave before will not last until April or May of next year. Question. After Lu Cheng looked at Lu Feng, he was really curious and asked, Mr. Lu, what is the next development direction of our company, cosmetics? This has nothing to do with Jiafeng Electronics. Lu Feng stood up and said, just starting a business and having fun. Where is the office? I still have a meeting. Let Li Na take you there. Lu Cheng called a little girl and led Lu Feng and Zhang Xiaoyan to the corner office. Start a business? Have fun. Although Lu Cheng was full of doubts, he didn't think too much about it. He had a lot of things to do every day. The office is not small. There is a rectangular table and a dozen chairs in it. It is very clean. There are also a row of flower pots on the windowsill with flowers in it. Lu Feng walked around, sat down and said, this is an office for now, what are we going to do next? Zhang Xiaoyan thought for a while and said, recruit. Smart. Lu Feng didn't shy away from his flattering skills. He complimented him and said, first find a general manager, and then find a few subordinates. The latter can be handled by the general manager. You can take care of it. Then go find it now and go. Zhang Xiaoyan turned her head excitedly and was ready to leave. Don't worry, finish the cigarette. Lu Feng could tell that she was very excited, as if she was participating in a big game. At present, in the domestic talent market, I am afraid that only Shenzhen can really find talents. In the talent market of other cities, only people can be found, and they are still low-end labor. It's more formal here, but there are still many people smoking by the side of the door. When they see some simple-looking people, they will ask, are you working? These people are all black intermediaries, or they are allied with factories, and they don't give money when they finish their work. What's more, they commit fraud on the pretext of paying all kinds of money. Relatively speaking, it is more formal inside. You pay the money, register your company, and give you a table, which is the cost of temporary rental. No one can guarantee that the interviewer is a liar. Lu Feng paid the money, looked at the bustling people around, and once again felt the smell of fireworks in the world, and remembered the scenes of recruiting in the talent market when he was a canary. The table over there. Lu Feng made a sign, put it in front of the table, and asked Zhang Xiaoyan to sit there. Probably because of his appearance, many men quietly looked this way, but came over. Yes, none of them. I've entered the factory, the machinery factory, food and housing, 203 a month, 203. Electronics factory plumber, 199 a month, regardless of food or housing. Get on the bus outside, get on the bus outside. The battlefield is recruiting. The surroundings were very cluttered. Lu Feng listened casually, and now the number of skilled workers is generally around 300, the labor force is around 200, the management team is 500 to 1000 yuan, and those who run the market are all taking a commission. Wages are going up really fast. After sitting here for almost 2 hours, a few people came, asked a few questions, and let Lu Feng send him away, and no one came after. Zhang Xiaoyan waited anxiously and looked at Lu Feng. Don't panic, it's all right. Lu Feng picked up the loudspeaker in his hand, stood on the table and shouted, look at me, the monthly salary is 5,000 yuan, the general manager of cosmetics is recruited, the salary is easy to say, you can give 10,000, and more. As soon as the price came out, the audience was silent, all eyes staring at Lu Feng on the table. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 354. Everyone knows that the management salary is high, but I didn't expect it to be so high. The recruits here are all small factories, and even the general manager can't give much. There is a factory next to it that recruits a marketing manager, and it only pays 1,200 per month. The salary of 1,500 yuan is already the ceiling for applicants who come to such a place. To find talents with a monthly salary of more than 5,000 yuan is really looking for a needle in a haystack. That's why so many people are so surprised. Lu Feng shouted with a loudspeaker, is there any? As long as you are the person in charge of the relevant field. We're also looking for a general manager. For cosmetics, as long as you have the ability, the salary is not a problem. A woman shouted with a sharp voice, holding a loudspeaker. Zhang Xiaoyan didn't expect that there would be competition in recruiting individuals. She glanced at Lu Feng, reached out and pulled him, and said, come down, such a big boss, what does it look like standing on the table? Lu Feng turned his head and glanced at the woman next to him, and shouted deliberately, my salary is higher than hers. The woman also seemed to be deliberately angry, shouting, my salary must be higher than yours. Lu Feng looked at the woman, about 30 years old, dressed very smartly, with a heroic air between his eyebrows. At first glance, it was a difficult character among women. If Zhang Xiaoyan looks like a soft mink at first glance, then she is a cactus, and it is very prickly at first glance. The woman also looked at Lu Feng. Her position for Lu Feng and his wife was that they were not suitable for business at all. She could see at a glance that Zhang Xiaoyan belonged to the kind of existence that was kind and deceived. Recruiting people, Yanran Cosmetics Factory is hiring a general manager. Salary is not a problem. I am also recruiting people here, and Huasha Cosmetics Factory is also hiring a general manager. The salary is not a problem compared to her. Lu Feng shouted with a loudspeaker. There is a saying that fighting with people is endless fun. Raising the bar is the happiest thing in the world. Zhang Xiaoyan laughed aside. Don't raise the bar, it's not good to fight in a while. Ordinary workers had already pulled away trucks after trucks. Seeing noon, Lu Feng bought a few baked buns from the door and packed 3 freshly cooked vegetables. It doesn't matter whether you can recruit people or not. What matters is the process of starting a business. To put it bluntly, Lu Feng just took the money to play with Zhang Xiaoyan. He also does not expect that in this talent market. It is not realistic to find a general manager who can be in charge of a factory. People who have been general managers have their own personal connections. They leave this factory in the morning and go to work in another factory in the afternoon. This dish is quite delicious. Zhang Xiaoyan gave Lu Feng a bite while eating, and said, "The buns are also delicious." Entrepreneurship, that's how we eat and sleep in the open air. If we make do with one bite, we both have suffered together, right? Lu Feng looked at her and said. The small bosses who were squatting on the ground to eat were almost crying when they heard this. They complained about starting a business. 2 people eat 3 hot dishes and 2 cold dishes, and the dishes on the table can hardly be put down. What the hell? The woman at Yanhong Cosmetics next to her found that the people under her were always looking at Lu Feng. She glanced at it and almost cried out, "Good guy, 3 hot dishes and 2 cold dishes, so I almost had to stand alone to serve dinner. Eat your meal with peace of mind. You can see how they look like, can it be successful? I tell you, if you want to become a superior person, you have to endure hardships. If you eat and drink a lot, can you do it?" the woman taught. "I'm a part-time worker." The employee glanced at his rice bowl after saying that. The part-time worker is different from the part-time worker. Don't look at the present. You should look at the long term. What about 3, 5, or 10 years from now? The car, and the position of your general manager, Feng Shui turns around, understand? The little girl was stunned for a moment, as if she was suffering from hardships now, and she will be a master tomorrow. Lu Feng also listened and looked at the female boss with some surprise. Her brainwashing skills are definitely first class, and she will not be an ordinary person in the future. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a woman in her 30s walked in, wearing a professional suit, with high heels on her feet, a black bag on her shoulders, and her hair tied up, giving her a professional look. Compared with the laborers who are squatting by the wall of the talent hall waiting for work, she is particularly eye-catching, and at first glance she is a leader-level talent. Women are turning up at the major recruitment booths in the talent market. Most of them are recruiting people from factories, as well as security, labor, technical workers, etc. There are very few management positions, or they are running the market. The bosses who recruited looked at her dress, but no one greeted her, knowing that such a woman was not of their type. After a long time, the woman came down to a booth with the words Vice President Recruitment and the salary is negotiable. Department Vice President or Company Vice President, the woman asked. The boss is a fat man in his 40s. He raised his head and glanced at it, and said, "The Vice President of the expatriate, we are from a plastics factory. We work as water pipes, mainly to open up the market, and the guaranteed salary is 800 yuan. The woman already understood when she heard this. She was just a senior salesperson. She didn't say much and turned around and left. From the planning in the morning to the excitement at noon, Zhang Xiaoyan originally thought that he was winning and the next step was to unify the business world, but after waiting for a long time, no one was recruited, and he sat there and yawned. Sleepy, Lu Feng smiled at her and said, "Why don't you go back to eat and sleep? What time is it? Isn't it hard to start a business?" Zhang Xiaoyan was very reluctant to admit that she was tired. She stood up and moved a bit, and said, "I also grew up doing farm work, how can I be so squeamish? Hello, are you hiring a general manager?" "Yes, you sit first." The owner of Yanran Cosmetics looked at Lu Feng, smiled proudly, and asked, "What did you do before?" "Be the general manager of a factory with more than 600 people." "What product?" "Shampoo, facial cleanser, laundry detergent, that sort of thing." "You still have a certain ability to control the market for cosmetics, right? It's not so cross-border. I always think that the cosmetics market has great potential. At present, the proportion of girls who wear makeup in China is very small. In developed countries, every girl wears makeup, and the domestic cosmetics market will definitely usher in a big future in the future. Breakout. Lu Feng sat there and listened with pricked ears. This professional manager gave the impression of being a professional. There was no problem at all being the general manager of a small factory. According to the current market price, the monthly salary is 5,000 to 10,000 yuan. Now these small factories are not very happy to give so much money. Many small factories pay the general manager or factory director 2,000 yuan. These people feel that the money is too little, so they try to get some rebates, and the money in hand is only a lot more. Of course, if you do this, you will leave the boss with a handle, and he can send you in at any time, unless the two of you are tacit. Zhang Xiaoyan also noticed that he was starting to apply for a job next to him, and whispered to Lu Feng, "This person is very good, should we recruit him?" "I also think it's good. A good general manager is the beginning of success." Lu Feng turned his head sideways and whispered, "We're halfway there." The woman answered a lot of questions, and both parties were satisfied. "What's the salary? What would you like your salary to be?" 8,000. "How many?" 6,005, I think I'm worth the price. Leave your contact information. We will give you a maximum of 4,000 yuan. Of course, if you do it well and can grasp it with one hand, it will not be a problem to become 5,000 or 6,000 in the future. Hearing the conversation, Lu Feng coughed heavily, sat there looking in front of his eyes, and whispered, I'm hiring a general manager, the general manager of a cosmetics factory. There are few things to do, and the salary is high." The woman glanced here, stood up, and said, "Let's talk back then." "Beauty, come back." Yan Ran's boss pulled the woman back and whispered, "I tell you, be careful about the recruiter next door. Those couple don't look like good people, they look like liars." "Thank you for reminding me. Really, they eat and drink a lot. They don't look for workers, they just look for the general manager. Don't be deceived." The woman nodded again and walked to the booth on Lu Feng's side. Zhang Xiaoyan cheered up, stood up and said, "Hurry up and sit down, you're tired of looking for a job like this, and you're still wearing high heels." Zhang Xiaoyan moved her a stool and put it under her buttocks, which was called enthusiasm, and made Lu Feng a little embarrassed. "Thank you." The woman sat down and asked, "What kind of factory are you? What scale?" "We don't have anything right now, just the two of us. We have nothing to do recently, so we are thinking about opening a factory." Zhang Xiaoyan told the truth very honestly. Lu Feng reached out and patted Zhang Xiaoyan on the shoulder. "If she continues like this, the factory will not be able to open at this time next year." When the woman heard this, coupled with the warning from the booth next to her, she stood up and was ready to leave. Not to mention whether it was a scam or not, just based on Zhang Xiaoyan's simple and honest appearance, she felt that this factory had no future. Wait a minute," Lu Feng hurriedly ran after him and whispered, "My wife is not very familiar with the factory. Our factory is already complete, but the general manager broke up some time ago." "Why are you breaking up?" "He asked for shares, I didn't give it, so I left." "You sit down and talk." Lu Feng called the woman back and asked, "What's your surname?" "Don't give your surname." Jian Nana." Lu Feng returned to the application table and said to Zhang Xiaoyan, "Talk as little as possible, I'll take her down first." "Show me your resume." Lu Feng sat down and his face was sinking. Lu Feng flipped through her resume and asked a lot of questions. Apparently, facing some of Lu Feng's questions, she was nervous when she was asked, and sweat began to appear on her forehead. "Come on, are you thirsty? Have a drink." Zhang Xiaoyan put a glass of water in front of her with great concern. The pressure created by Lu Feng was gone, and he looked at Zhang Xiaoyan speechlessly, frantic in his heart and shouting, "You are a capitalist, Why are you being so nice to her? High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 355. Qian Nana hurriedly became polite. In her eyes, a boss like Lu Feng was a serious boss. He had never seen Zhang Xiao Yan treat people so well. The owner of Yan Ran Cosmetics company next to her is also listening. She is also very satisfied with Qian Nana, but she feels that the salary is a bit high, but she does not want her to join such a small cosmetics factory with hundreds of people. Competitor. Your resume is very good. Even if you don't join a company, you can bring some changes to the company. How much do you want your salary to be? Lu Feng asked with a sullen face. The salary mainly depends on whether there is room for improvement in the company, and on the position. If you can really learn something. Qian Nana looked at Lu Feng and felt that this person should have some skills, and said, 4 or 5,000 will do. 4 or 5,000? I just reported 8,000 here. The female boss of Yan Ran Cosmetics next to her refused and said, you want 8,000 yuan from me? If you can do it with 4,000 or 5,000 yuan, then come to me. I'll give you 4,000 yuan, and you can grab it with one hand. I'll ask you alone. People are talking about 4 or 5,000, not 4,000. Besides, they are applying for a job with me, but your ears are quite long, Lu Feng said angrily. The one with the highest price gets it. She's not talking about this price here. The woman glanced at Lu Feng and Qian Nana, sneered as if she had guessed something, and said to Zhang Xiaoyan, sister, you can be optimistic. I am a man, so as not to be secretly sold. Let me tell you, there are people in these days, who are the general manager in name, maybe the third child. Where has Qian Nana ever been insulted like this? She stood up and shouted, who are you talking about? Who is the third child? Hey, if you offer me 8,000, it will be 4,000 or 5,000 if you go to him. Don't you just fancy someone else's man? The woman shouted without giving in at all. Money, man, workplace, gender, these keywords instantly made 80% of the people around them widen their curious eyes. I don't know him. What's your business? Qian Nana said angrily, you are so difficult to serve. Even if you give it to 8,000, I will not serve you. Ouch, how could you possibly be worth my 8,000 yuan if you're running to make money? Who makes money? If you don't make it clear today, I will tear your mouth off, Qian Nana shouted while standing at the application table next to her. Then tell me, you offer me 8,000. To him it would be 4 or 5,000. I think he has the ability, maybe he can learn something, can't you? Let me tell you, I serve a lot of small factories. You small bosses, besides wandering around the factory every day, looking for faults, you can also do what? It's your product that sells well, but it's my manager's problem if it doesn't sell well. Qian Nana obviously held back her stomach and released it completely. When I am a general manager, I am just a punching bag. Some factories have less than 300 people in total. This is a nephew and that is a nephew. Don't think I don't know, I just went to the market. Qian Nana spoke out all the drawbacks of these small factories in one breath. She has no staff, and she is responsible for everything. She even does it herself. Yan Ran's boss looked at her and still felt that Qian Nana was more valuable. The key was that she didn't want to stare at the factory every day. She was too tired and said, you said 4 or 5,000, right, I'll give you 5,000. Lu Feng, huh? Wait a minute, it seems that MSGN is applying for a job here, Lu Feng said. I'm here first, I'm done talking here, then I'll go to your side. The woman grabbed Qian Nana's hand and said. Qian Nana frowned a little, but didn't say anything. Small factories are like this. If you don't work long enough, you can work for anyone with a high salary. 5,000 yuan a month, I will give you the position of general manager, and everything in the factory will be handed over to you. I'll give you 5,005, Lu Feng said coldly. I'll give you 6,000, this gentleman, please go back to your recruiting position. I'll pay 7,000, Lu Feng ignored her, looking at Qian Nana and said. Qian Nana's heart skipped a beat when she heard the figure. She knew that her current salary would only be around 5,000 yuan. You really pay 7,000? What if you don't pay 7,000? The woman said angrily. Do you dare to sign a contract today, guaranteeing that she will not be fired for 12 months, 7,000 yuan per month, let's write it in black and white. Okay, no problem, Lu Feng stared at her and asked back, if you joined your company, would you also sign this kind of contract? The woman was pushed by Lu Feng, and she slapped the table and shouted, do you look down on me? It's only a few thousand yuan a month. I'm also a boss worth more than 3 million yuan. Who do you look down on? It seems like who is not, Lu Feng called towards her, continue to bid. Today, whoever persuades his grandson. Then you will be your granddaughter today. Lu Feng looked at her and said calmly. Zhang Xiaoyan didn't like to conflict with people, so she stretched out her hand and pulled Lu Feng's arm and said, okay, I'm just recruiting individuals, there's no need to get into a fight. I'll pay 8,000, at this price, if possible, sign the contract immediately. Let me tell you, Yanran Cosmetics is doing very well now, with a net profit of 70,000 to 80,000 yuan per month. It's a big deal, you know. 8,000 yuan salary? The ordinary workers around were dumbfounded. They didn't earn less than 8,000 yuan a year. Now in some poor places, households with 10,000 yuan are still very good. This young and beautiful woman basically counts as households with 10,000 yuan a month. How not to be jealous? What made everyone even more astonished was that these bosses were rich and powerful, and the prices were on the spot. In the eyes of these workers, these million-dollar bosses were already the pinnacle of their imagination of the rich. Do you think this young boss will increase the price? Let me tell you, I will definitely increase the price. How important is face? Now it's not about money. I also think that 1 or 2,000 is not money for others. You don't know how rich these dog days are, 1,000 yuan for a meal. There are all kinds of accents. These ordinary workers come from all over the country. They are the first batch of migrant workers in China and the first batch of people who feel the gap between the rich and the poor. Lu Feng stared at the woman calmly, her eyes were a bit provocative, the price had already exceeded the market price, small factories did not make tens of thousands of profits every month, and some months had to pay back the money. Once there was a little fluctuation, tens of thousands of dollars may overwhelm a small factory with a few hundred people. I'll pay 10,000 yuan, Lu Feng's voice didn't contain any unnecessary fluctuations. To him, this money was no different from a dollar. Yan Ran's boss's face darkened. He gritted his teeth and prepared to speak. He pushed back a few times, causing Lu Feng to suffer a big loss. Before he could speak, Lu Feng spoke first. If you add another dime, then I won't argue with you. Okay, I won't argue with you. What's your name? The woman asked. My surname is Lu, my name is Lu Feng. There are dozens of cosmetic factories in Shenzhen, and I basically know them all, but I don't know you, which means you are new here. It doesn't matter, you can survive. Let me tell you, the competition among these factories is very fierce. If I guessed correctly, you should be planning to make lipstick, right? The woman asked. Right. In this category, all factories are doing it. Whether it is retail, wholesale, or overseas freight, you are not easy to go. I tell you this, many factories can't last for 2 months. I hope you can live a little longer. God, the woman was sorting her things, obviously not ready to continue recruiting. By the way, my name is Zhao Yanran, and everyone in the industry calls me Sister Zhao. We will be long in Japan. Zhang Xiao Yan stepped forward and said, Sister Yan Ran, if you have time, you can have a meal together. If there is anything I don't understand, I can ask you. We are not saying that we must do lipstick, we can do something else, and we are not competitors. Zhao Yan Ran snorted coldly and turned her head away. Lu Feng was speechless and asked Zhang Xiao Yan, why are you being so polite to her? There are many ways to have multiple friends. Maybe we can ask her. Zhang Xiao Yan said very simply, as I said, we don't have to make lipsticks. Do you know what a businessman is? Lu Feng stared at him and said, all businessmen have a characteristic, I wish he would do all the business in the world. When you are a businessman, it means competition, not that the question of whether to do lipstick or not. Zhang Xiao Yan scratched her head and said, I don't think you have a good relationship with those bosses. It's funny. That's because I'm useful. They want to use me, and I want to use them. Lu Feng felt that she was not very good at dealing with such interests, and said, let's get the factory up first. Lu Feng looked at Qian Nana and said, is there anyone under Mr. Qian's staff? You can find them first. At the same time, find a factory with 200 or 300 employees, preferably cosmetics. Ah, Qian Nana was dumbfounded and asked, didn't you tell me that the factory has already started to operate? There is only one general manager left. Really? Lu Feng smiled at her and said, that 10,000 yuan a month salary. Oh, I remembered it wrong, I heard it wrong, so I count as going to work today. Okay, it's not less than a day or two. Lu Feng took out a few business cards from his pocket, looked at it, and handed her an unnamed one, my phone number, I will find a suitable factory within 2 days. You can find a few more suitable people, such as the workshop director, ingredients, packaging design, etc. You can count the number of people, wages, etc. and make a table for me. Okay. Qian Nana could feel that Zhang Xiao Yan didn't know anything, but Lu Feng was very organized. He had his own purpose for what he needed and how to set up the factory. As the sun went down, and driving back, Lu Feng glanced at Zhang Xiao Yan next to him, and said, how about you being the chairman and I being the factory manager? Then am I older than you? Zhang Xiao Yan said excitedly. Yes, I have to listen to what you say. Then, that night, Zhang Xiao Yan smiled, and the meaning was already clear. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 356. Seeing her, Lu Feng couldn't help but rolled his eyes. After deciding on the general manager candidate, the rest is easy. Qian Nana has her own connections with some factories and personnel in the city. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the two were sitting in a Cantonese restaurant eating, discussing how to hard work. Any dish on the table could cost more than 30 yuan. Lu Feng also discovered one thing. Zhang Xiao Yan's words started to increase in the past few days. In fact, apart from family matters, there was not much in common between the two of them. Lu Feng just wanted to talk to her about the company, but she didn't understand. In the past 2 days, about cosmetics, factories, recruitment, etc., she also said that she was very excited. When she was happy, she grinned. The 2 rows of big white teeth are so beautiful. Come here, Mr. Zhang, I respect you. Lu Feng picked up the teacup in front of him, touched it, and joked, my little brother, I wish Mr. Zhang a great fortune, become more and more popular, and become the next queen of fashion. I did it, you are free. Zhang Xiao Yan sat across from him, looking at Lu Feng's serious appearance. She couldn't close her mouth with laughter, giggling like an old hen laying eggs. Ha, can I really make a fortune? Zhang Xiao Yan asked with a smile. As far as your brain is concerned, it's really amazing. Lu Feng looked at her and said sincerely, as long as you serve dim sum, you will definitely make a lot of money, and a miracle in the business world will be born. But Feng Xia said that people like me are not suitable for starting a business. She knows shit, and she dares to say that she is in the business world. Lu Feng patted his chest and said to himself, I, the founder of 2 companies, are worth several hundred million, and I am your man. You won't listen to me. Yes, listen to her. Hearing his boastful words, Zhang Xiaoyan couldn't help laughing, and nodded hurriedly, looking at Lu Feng with small stars in her eyes, and admiringly said, You are the best. Call husband. Zhang Xiaoyan glanced around, shook her head shyly, and said, I praised you. Say my husband is awesome. Why are you like this? Where can someone call her husband? It's embarrassing, Zhang Xiaoyan said embarrassedly. Her whole person was extremely shy. Lu Feng turned his head and glanced at the table next to him. It was a young couple, calling each other baby, and then kissed each other. Look at others. Lu Feng seemed to be teasing Zhang Xiaoyan on purpose, and said, Come on, feed me, call me husband. You. Zhang Xiaoyan blushed to the root of her neck. Although she wasn't as conservative as before in the past 2 years, she could say such a thing, and it was disgusting. Tell me or not. I'm your investor now. If you don't tell me, I can withdraw my capital. Lu Feng stared at her with a smile and said, Now let you feel the cruelty of the business world. Zhang Xiaoyan glanced left and right, picked up a little dish, stuffed it into Lu Feng's mouth, and whispered, Husband, eat it. Lu Feng grinned as he ate the vegetables, like a fool. Just for this one sound, it was worth losing all 2 million. The next day, just after 9 o'clock in the morning, Lu Feng and Zhang Xiaoyan arrived at the office and bought a professional suit for Zhang Xiaoyan. A suit for women cost 2,800, and a pair of low-heeled shoes cost more than 900. There are more than 8,000 bags. It doesn't matter whether you can start a business or not, what matters is the atmosphere. Zhang Xiaoyan stands in beauty, and people in other offices are muttering, What kind of boss is this airborne? Some people say that the boss's daughter is here, to replace Lu Cheng's position, or to be the vice president. The desks, chairs, and benches in the office have been removed and replaced with a large desk, which separates several offices. The words Huaxia Cosmetics Co., Limited are also written on the wall behind. Mr. Zhang, take a seat. Lu Feng pointed to the boss's chair and said, Mr. Qian will be here in a while. She called me in the morning and said that she has 4 or 5 people under her command, all of whom are very reliable. After handing in her resume, the factory will also find a few suitable ones, some for sale and some for rent. Zhang Xiaoyan nodded, looked at Lu Feng and said, You act like me every day? It's too easy. If Lu Feng was like her, the 2 companies would have closed down long ago, but in order to build her confidence, Lu Feng nodded and said, Yes, it's actually very simple. If you become the boss, you will definitely be much better than me. Zhang Xiaoyan's eyes began to flicker. Everyone has a fire in their hearts, but most of them feel that they have no chance to ignite in this life. Lu Feng wanted her to mess around with her, otherwise she would focus on pregnancy. He also accompanied Zhang Xiaoyan to the hospital before, but the main problem was the lack of bonding. In this case, the chances of getting pregnant were too high. Small. I hope she will struggle more, expand her horizons, have a multifaceted view of things, jump out of the world that limits her, and everything will be fine. After 9 o'clock, Qian Nana arrived. Seeing Zhang Xiaoyan dressed so delicately, she was also stunned for a moment. She reacted and praised a few words, but she was muttering in her heart, These 2 people don't seem to be entrepreneurs, they seem to have money and nowhere to go. Floral. This is their resume, which also explains the salary. These 5 people have worked with me. They are all veterans in this kind of workshop, market, finance, etc. Don't worry about their ability, otherwise I won't find them. Qian Nana flipped through the information in the bag and said, I have inquired about these factories. They are different in size. Some have an assembly line, some do not, and they are clearly written. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at it very seriously. Lu Feng frowned when he heard her words. The most taboo thing in the company is that the entire management is the general manager. In this case, the boss is completely empty. Qian Nana put several important candidates in front of Zhang Xiaoyan. It was self-evident. Lu Feng was about to speak, but after hesitating, he didn't speak. A test product to see how a company will operate after it is suspended. Zhang Xiaoyan looked through it for a long time. The resumes of these people were indeed very good. She was still a little unsure and looked at Lu Feng. Lu Feng took the resume, glanced at it, and whispered, "All of these people are fine. Then let these people go to work. In terms of salary, follow what they require," Zhang Xiaoyan said happily. "Then I would like to thank President Zhang and President Lu. I think the gap in the cosmetics market is still very large, and we still have many opportunities." Qian Nana briefly talked about the market prospects, and she also had some understanding of Lu Feng and his wife. These two people don't understand business at all, especially in business management. They don't know anything at all. They look like two young people who just got married. They took the funds from their families and came out to enjoy being the boss. Lu Feng looked at the major factories for a long time. Several of them were for sale. The factory buildings of 2,000 to 3,000 square meters sold for 1 million, and the price was fictitious. There are a total of 27 suitable factories, and one of them is very good. There are basic things such as electricity, water, assembly lines, and storage tanks for chemicals. The workshop covers an area of 2,900 square meters. The entire factory occupies an area of over 10 acres, which is considered small. Jiafeng Electronics' smallest assembly plant covers an area of 15 acres, not to mention the large ones. "Can this price be lower?" Lu Feng asked. "This house is rented on an annual basis, and a deposit is required, Mr. Lu. I think so. We can buy a factory, so there is no rent pressure, and once the market fluctuates, we can resist for a while." Qian Nana said very professionally, "Small factories are the most sensitive to the market. If there is a slight fluctuation, they will lose their price advantage. Now the survival mode of small enterprises is to live a few days longer than other small factories." What Qian Nana said is true. The bottom-level enterprises are opened and bankrupt every day, especially in the form of small workshops, and a large number of them appear and disappear. You know, it is the tide of the sea now, and countless people flew to Shenzhen with their savings, and then returned with nothing. However, the backlog of excessive funds into the hardware such as factories will lead to a tight capital chain for small enterprises, and funds cannot be dispatched at critical times. If you don't need it, just rent one. Lu Feng put the situation of the factory in front of Zhang Xiaoyan and said, "Let's go and see this." Zhang Xiaoyan didn't know much about the factory. Looking at the picture above, it wasn't very big. Since Lu Feng has already said it, let's settle it. Then go to see the factory first. When will they be able to go to work? Zhang Xiaoyan asked. "If you think it's okay, you can go to work in the afternoon, and the person in charge of the personnel department will go to work first." Personnel department. Zhang Xiaoyan has been by Lu Feng's side for a long time. She has a little understanding of these departments, and looked at Lu Feng and said, "It's about people, isn't it?" Lu Feng nodded. "Such a small factory, why do so many departments do? The more departments she has, the easier it will be for her to be a general manager. Small businesses want streamlining and omnipotence. People in the personnel department must be able to do financial work. The financial department must also be proficient in marketing and can be called at any time. Personal work. Only small businesses like this can make money, not like a big business. The personnel department will not be used for the time being. You will be responsible for the job application. You can directly sign and confirm, and you can get 2 people from finance, workshop director, marketing, and product design. You don't need original design, just buy a few magazines and just follow the cat. Lu Feng looked at Qian Nana and said, do you know? Oh. Qian Nana nodded again and again, raised her head and glanced at Lu Feng. She was still thinking of inserting a few people and getting more wages. Let's do this first, let's go to the factory first, and I'll give you a call. Qian Nana picked up the phone and called, but she kept thinking, Zhang Xiaoyan really doesn't seem to know anything. How does this Lu Feng feel? A burst of light, a burst of stupidity. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 357. The factory is located in Fuxian District, where there are small and medium-sized enterprises. The entire street used to be full of various factories, producing everything. If you can't find all kinds of raw materials on this street, you can definitely find them in the factory area on the street ahead. This is the biggest advantage of Shenzhen. The cement road here is brand new. It looks like it has just been paved for a few years. Dogs can be seen in the major factories, and all kinds of dog barks can often be heard. Lu Feng lowered the car window and looked outside. The walls of some factories are not high, and they are more like workshops. The door of a lumber factory in front of him opened, and a man in his 30s came out with his luggage. His face was full of anger. You don't give me salary, you try. Let me tell you, with your work attitude, do you want a salary? Bah, you can't even stay in Fuxian District. The boss chased after him and cursed. There were also 2 dogs wagging their tails behind them, barking wildly. I can't stay any longer? Let's ride a donkey and read the songbook. I tell you, you don't want to pay a penny. Door and shouted, are you hiring? This one didn't work, so I took pictures of the door of one family. When the door opened for the 5th family, the man found a job again. It is estimated that he will be settled in the new dormitory immediately, and he will be working in a while. Lu Feng knew that there are many jobs in Shenzhen, but he didn't expect that it would be so easy to find a job in such a place. Compared with the state of the whole country, if the iron rice bowl of a state-owned enterprise that is about to thunder is a touch of autumn, the branches are withered and the leaves are yellow. Then the townhouses in Shenzhen are like spring, revealing infinite tender green. In the last life, Lu Feng took a class for a period of time, explaining why the collapse theory caused by the great economic collapse in the 1990s did not become a reality. The world is in a bad mood, and all kinds of top experts are saying that something is going to happen, plus the financial crisis. Lu Feng was called up in that class to answer this question. He couldn't say it. But now, looking at the rows of factories, these small factories with hundreds of people, there are people leaving and coming at any time. He seems to have found some answers. What's wrong? Zhang Xiaoyan felt that Lu Feng was not right, and asked, can't you do it here? Mr. Lu, small factories with hundreds of employees are like this. They are independent factories with office buildings, canteens, factories, and warehouses. They are large enterprises with thousands of employees, and the price is much higher. Now, the style is really style. Qian Nana thought that Lu Feng disliked this place too shabby. He didn't look so tall and hurriedly explained. No, I just think the workers here are quite arrogant. Lu Feng took his eyes back. The car was parked in front of a factory. There was an arch made of stainless steel shelves at the door. Beauty cosmetics were written on it. With the wind and rain, the skin of the stainless steel had fallen off, and it looked rusty. The facade of the factory is a little better than the surrounding ones, and it looks a lot wider. Qian Nana glanced through the crack of the door and said, "Let's wait a while, maybe we haven't come yet." Zhang Xiaoyan looked around. The environment here was average, and the noise from various factories kept coming. Compared with the factory of GFN Electronics, it was incomparable. "What's wrong?" Lu Feng found her frowning secretly. "It's a bit broken." "I thought the factory building with hundreds of people was quite big, just like GFN Electronics." Zhang Xiaoyan muttered, "It's just a little smaller than GFN Electronics. I feel like this is just a broken yard." Lu Feng couldn't help laughing when he heard what she said. The price of this factory was about 3 million yuan. The most expensive thing was the machines inside. The factory of GFN Electronics was worth 300 million yuan. The difference is not so big. If ordinary people can own such a large factory, they are already rich. It's worth hundreds of millions. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, an uncle came over on a 28 car, holding a lot of keys in his hand, and when he stopped the car, it jingled. "Who rented the factory?" The uncle looked at the three of them. "Let's rent it. There is a cosmetic assembly line here, isn't it?" Zhang Xiaoyan asked hurriedly. "Yes, the last one was doing cosmetics, and the rent owed was too much, so I paid the assembly line to me." The uncle started looking for the key after talking, and after a while he opened the door and said, "If you use the assembly line, the rent will definitely be high. This factory is fully equipped, and the office decoration is also good. You come in and see." The three of Lu Feng walked in. The yard was not very big, and it was clean. Although the place was small, it was fully equipped, from warehouses, workshops, offices to security rooms. After walking around, Lu Feng asked, "If this workshop is fully productive, what is the output? I really don't know this." "You can look at the equipment. If you rent it, it will be rented on an annual basis. If you rent the factory alone, it will cost 100,000 yuan a year. If you rent it together with the assembly line, it will be 250,000 yuan a year. The deposit, this machine is very expensive, and it paid more than 1 million in rent," the old man said solemnly. 25,000 a year, Zhang Xiaoyan called out. Uncle and Qian Nana were so excited when they saw her, they thought the price was unbearable. Uncle's factory had been idle for several months, and they wanted to rent it out as soon as possible. And the price of 25 per year is indeed the most expensive on this street. Qian Nana still wants to rent here, because everything in the assembly line is predetermined. Renting an empty factory in the province, and busy renting machines and finding people, all these tasks will be hers at that time. This price. We can still talk about it, Qian Nana hurriedly said, "Let's haggle again." Zhang Xiaoyan grabbed Lu Feng and said in a low voice, "It's so cheap, it's only 250,000 a year." As soon as these words came out, not to mention Qian Nana, the uncle of the landlord, and even Lu Feng were taken aback. "Is it cheap? This price is moderately high," and Qian Nana is stunned inwardly. This couple is really a golden pot. 250,000 a year is still cheap? The uncle of the landlord sighed inwardly. "Let's go. Then this price, we don't want to talk about the price, let's rent it," Lu Feng said to the uncle. "The deposit is 50,000 yuan, mainly because I'm afraid of damage to the assembly line." The uncle of the landlord smiled and said, "I hope you understand." Understand, Zhang Xiaoyan readily agreed. Just as Lu Feng was about to speak, the deposit of 50,000 yuan was too high, but Zhang Xiaoyan agreed immediately. In the eyes of the uncle, she was like a pure angel. No matter how unreasonable the uncle said, she was very tolerant. Acceptance. Lu Feng felt that if she was not by her side, would she ask the uncle if he suffered a loss and would you like to add more? Although she also came from a poor background, the data she has heard around Lu Feng in the past 2 years is relatively large. A figure of 200,000 or 300,000 is really not worth mentioning. She instinctively thinks that it is all small money. In Qian Nana's eyes, Zhang Xiaoyan's action is a big deal. If you are the general manager of such a person, you can just wait to get rich. After signing the contract, giving cash directly on the spot, and completing all the procedures, in the factory director's office, Zhang Xiaoyan sat on the boss's chair, glanced at Lu Feng, and said with a smile, "This chair is pretty good, what should I do next?" "Manage. Mr. Zhang, now that we have a site, the next step is to recruit workers. At the same time, we must determine the raw materials, and design related products, and then we can start production. After production, we will sell. There are several models. One is to set up your own brands, establish counters, and carry out retail sales. One is OEM, which is to produce pirated products of those big brands and affixed with the brand of big brands. The third is the wholesale market, which produces cheap lipsticks, mainly domestic wholesale, sold overseas." Zhang Xiaoyan thought about it seriously. The first model is definitely not good. She still understands the basic truth, after all, she also often buys cosmetics. The third model requires low prices, large quantities, and related channels, which she has no relationship with. After thinking about it, he raised his head to look at Lu Feng and said, "Should we do piracy?" "What is piracy?" "It's so ugly," Lu Feng said righteously. "What we do is to help well-known brands to promote their products to more people for free and to increase their popularity, and we don't expect anything in return. That's our great cause." When Qian Nana heard this, she couldn't help but say in her heart, "Don't look at the too stupid, this man is really thick-skinned." "What do you do next?" Zhang Xiaoyan asked. "Mr. Qian, you go to recruit a few workers first, clean up this place, and let some directors, financial officers, etc. come to work tomorrow, then you will hand over the work to them, and then the three of us will go to the raw material market. Take a walk." Lu Feng thought about it and said, "Let that designer come over tomorrow. Our goal is to start production this week, and go to the market in the afternoon." Mr. Qian nodded and took the notebook seriously and wrote it down. Now she is very clear about what the two couples want, that is, the entrepreneurial style. Let's go to lunch, we have to celebrate, we are one step closer to becoming one of the top 10 private enterprises in the country." Lu Feng looked at her and said with a smile, "I think, when you go back in the evening, you have to write good words and become a private enterprise. Entrepreneurs, when they are commended, they have to agree, not everyone can eat and drink well. How can it be so easy?" The two of them whispered out of the office door. Qian Nana was dumbfounded. She had seen whimsical ones, but they were as whimsical as these two, and they really weren't. She couldn't help laughing. Top 10 entrepreneurs. Still speaking on TV. Lu Feng got in the car and went straight to the Cantonese restaurant. Although he was in the entrepreneurial stage, he couldn't make his wife suffer. He should eat well, and he had to eat well. "I found that I knew nothing." Zhang Xiaoyan sat on the co-pilot and said, "I don't know what I would do without you. Didn't you do a good job? Go to the cosmetics wholesale market in the afternoon. Then it's time for you to show your skills." Lu Feng said comfortingly. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 358. The two of them ate more than 400 yuan for a lunch. If other entrepreneurs saw such a rich entrepreneurial lunch full of yam and abalone wings, they would be in tears. It's all entrepreneurship, and the gap between people and people is sometimes bigger than people and dogs. In terms of investment, Zhang Xiaoyan is definitely the best investor in the world. Marrying Lu Feng is an investment with the highest return. In the afternoon, Cosmetics Trade City, which is the largest cosmetics trade city in the country, is similar to Yuhua's small commodity city, where you can find all kinds of cosmetics, with prices ranging from high to low, all at wholesale prices. This idea of centralized wholesale and centralized distribution has played an important role in urban construction in the future, such as Hwakyeongbei, and local political corruption has made a lot of efforts, such as Electric Appliance City, Cosmetic City, Small Commodity City, Wholesale and Retail City, and other various attempts. All kinds of ideas and creativity will be prioritized in the city. If successful, this model will be promoted to the whole country. This is the mission of the SAR. There are more than 57,000 merchants in Cosmetic City, ranging from cosmetic products to cosmetics peripherals, including accessories for cosmetics, such as gels, food coloring, castor oil, lipstick tubes, styling designs, mold openers, etc. Lu Feng looked at the introduction of the sign at the door, and was already a little shocked. This is Hwakyeongbei of cosmetics. Brother, do you want cosmetics? What brand do you want? Any level, our family has them. As long as you say it, you can make them right away. A young man in his 20s next to him said very cleverly, we have drawings, you can pick them up, you can do anything, place an order today, and it will be available tomorrow. That person, it's forbidden to solicit customers at the door, don't you know, the building manager had come over and scolded. It's not soliciting, it's my brother and sister-in-law, I'm sorry. The young man put his arm around Lu Feng's shoulder and said very affectionately, brother, I won't let you stand at the door and say, let's go to my booth. Since the location of the counter is different in rent and the source of customers is also different, the location by the door has a large traffic flow and the rent is expensive. It is forbidden to shout or solicit customers here, otherwise it will become a mess. Lu Feng was dragged into a booth of more than 10 square meters. The walls were covered with things. The young man flipped through a few books. The things on it were very complete, from lipstick, facial cleanser, primer, whitening milk, base cream, false eyelashes, wigs are all available. Lu Feng flipped through it. This should be done by more than a dozen companies, and they are doing business with each other. As long as one customer comes, no matter what they want, they will definitely keep the customer. The common method of the bottom booth. Do you have any lipstick? Zhang Xiaoyan asked. Yes, it's cheap, 5 cents a piece, not counting the base, the more expensive one is 80 cents. Zhang Xiaoyan shook her head after a few tries, and asked, are you running your own factory? Are you buying goods? We have our own source of goods. Of course, if you guys are cheap, you can also take a look at the goods. The young man's interest had dropped, and he felt that the two of them didn't buy goods, but rather came to find a seller. Let's go shopping. How about that one? Sister, it's 80 cents. You have a 20-cent base. I'll stick a Lancome label for you. You can sell it for 5 cents. It's definitely a good deal. If you want, I can measure it for you. A little less, and 500 sticks can be taken. Zhang Xiaoyan shook her head. Several merchants beside her were already sticking out their heads and staring at Lu Feng. Before putting down the things and taking 2 steps, someone greeted, come in, and have a look, everything is there. Let's see if you can buy it or not, I have some stock, it's cheap. It's cheap, moisturizer, 5 cents a bottle, if you want all of them, it's still cheaper. After walking less than 100 meters, all kinds of greetings, even pulling, have made Lu Feng too big, but Zhang Xiaoyan is like a duck in water in this environment. I tried a few products, but I was not satisfied. I asked, and there are really many lipsticks? According to their jargon, lipsticks are hard-selling products. Basically, every store here sells lipsticks, and the profit is basically price. These lipsticks are so cheap. This is the first time I know that the lipstick is one price, the base is one price, and the packaging is another price. Even the lift seat is divided into plastic, copper, alloy, and plastic is also divided so much. Zhang Xiaoyan frowned. Lu Feng also opened his eyes. He was dazzled by the lipsticks of various colors. Here, he was completely speechless, and there were all kinds of strange cosmetics. Zhang Xiaoyan asked along the way. Lu Feng was a follower. When Zhang Xiaoyan asked him what he thought, he could only nod his head ignorantly. This made Zhang Xiaoyan feel an indescribable sense of pride. It turns out that you also have such a side, you don't understand anything, and you follow me like a fool. We plan to produce some high-end lipsticks, what do you want? Zhang Xiaoyan asked the boss. How high-end is high-end? At present, the best-selling price is 5 yuan in the terminal market. This price is relatively acceptable to everyone. The quality is better, and it really sells quickly, even if the profit is a little thinner, the boss asked. We plan to make something that is not so dry, that is, it won't stick to it, and it will be more moisturizing. Their lipsticks are sticky, even oily. Zhang Xiaoyan thought about it and said, for example, the wholesale price is 1 or 2 yuan, if we say it sells well, can you do it? Just a buck or two for a lipstick stick. Right. The unit price is a bit high. With the base, the printed label, and the packaging, the wholesale price goes to more than 3 yuan. When they pull it out for retail, they lose money at 5 yuan. Sell it for 7 yuan, do you think it's a good deal? I really don't know. You can try it. It mainly depends on the finished product. It's easier to use. We have it here. Girl, the boss said with a smile. Zhang Xiaoyan asked the boss about the market and tried their high-end products. Lu Feng sat on the plastic bench next to him and yawned. Maybe men are born like this. The booth opposite is relatively large, it seems to be 40 to 50 square meters, and there is a young girl sitting there, wearing a short skirt, sitting there nibbling melon seeds. From time to time, a few young men pass by to take a look. Swallow, how is the sale? A crisp female voice sounded. Lu Feng always felt that this voice was very familiar. He looked at the person who spoke, and it was the woman who was recruited that day, Zhao Yanran. Mr. Zhao, the shipment went well today, and the goods cost 20,000 yuan. The girl was obviously taken aback by the sudden inspection. She stood up and lost the melon seeds in her hand. You know how to eat melon seeds all day long, so why are you dressed like this? Zhao Yanran frowned at her and scolded, tell you, don't hook up, it's not enough, I'll send you back again. I see. Change your clothes, I'll go to the counter to see. Zhao Yanran was about to leave. She just turned her head and took a look. She stopped, then turned her head to stare at Zhang Xiaoyan's back, and then looked at he turned to Lu Feng next to him. Yo, is it the two of you? Zhao Yanran seemed to have caught something fun, looked at Lu Feng and said, your manager with 10,000 yuan didn't come along. The manager naturally has the manager to be busy with, but you are very good, and you are in charge of production and sales, Lu Feng said. It's okay, you have to grab your own factory with one hand. Don't worry if you pass the hands of others, so as not to be taken advantage of. I see that you are rich, so take advantage of it. Zhao Yanran smiled proudly, as if she had already seen through everything. He said, within 2 months, you can make that manager miserable for you. When Zhang Xiaoyan heard someone talking behind her, she turned around and saw that it was Zhao Yanran. She was also stunned, and said happily, I didn't expect to meet you here, so happy. How happy are you? Zhang Xiaoyan was speechless. Lu Feng said, are you taking gun medicine? What's taking gun medicine? Why are you talking so vulgar? Li Yanran scolded with a cold face. Lu Feng didn't think the words were obscene at first, but after thinking about it, it seemed that it was indeed a bit obscene, and he felt embarrassed beyond words. You can't talk properly, can you? You go on your own business, don't talk to us, Lu Feng said angrily. Me, it's because you are too young and want to talk to you, but you look like you don't buy it, then forget it. I moved here a few years after it opened, from a counter at that time to my own. After opening the factory, and now supplying more than a dozen counters, it cannot be said that she is the first sister of the lipstick category, but she is definitely second to none. Zhao Yanran's face was full of pride. Then teach us. I don't know very well, my man is not very good at talking. Sister, don't take it to heart, have a meal together at night. We are not saying that we have to produce lipstick and rob your business, it's just a newcomer. I hope someone will lead the way, Zhang Xiaoyan said very gently. What are you talking about with her? Shut your mouth, Zhang Xiaoyan said to Lu Feng. Lu Feng felt that she was indeed confident, so he would shut himself up, sitting there with his arms folded on his chest and not speaking. Oh, girl, you're a businessman, unlike your man, who talks like he's taken gunpowder. I'm a big man, whose gun medicine do I take? Lu Feng was speechless. My two women are talking, don't make a sound. I see that you are a gentle person, and you are a person to deal with. I will chat with you after I finish the work at the counters. Zhao Yanran smiled wide-eyed. Okay, I'll be the host. Zhang Xiaoyan became happy, and now she is eager to understand some of the rules here, how to sell goods. If you can get the experience of an old senior like Zhao Yanran, then you will naturally take a lot less detours. Lu Feng could also see her thoughts, but Lu Feng knew better that many detours were pointed out by the seniors. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 359. Zhao Yanran has many counters and partners in the cosmetics city. Relying on these channels, the sales of cosmetics produced in her factory can be considered stable. This is also the reason why she is reluctant to spend too much money to hire a general manager, because the channels are stable and the production is stable, so finding a general manager is also responsible for the management. I asked a lot of people in the afternoon. What Zhang Xiaoyan meant was that the mainstream lipsticks in the market are currently 5 yuan per terminal. This type of market is very large, but the competition is fierce. She wants to aim at the terminal market of 7 or 8 yuan, and improve the quality. Although the market is not large, there are few competitors, and it is easy to find a way. Lu Feng agreed with her very much and praised Zhang Xiaoyan along the way. In the evening, Zhao Yanran got into Lu Feng's car, sat in the back row and said, "This cosmetics city is very big, and the relationship inside is very messy. Let me tell you, this is a river and lake, and ordinary people can't get along. It's better to rely on Sister Yanran." Zhang Xiaoyan said politely, "What shall we eat? Western food? Cantonese food? Anything will do, just find a fast food restaurant." Zhao Yanran said politely, "There's no need to spend so much. It's okay, it's just a regular meal." Zhang Xiaoyan said to Lu Feng, "Then let's go to that Western restaurant." Lu Feng nodded and drove towards his destination. In the box on the third floor, as a guest, Lu Feng handed over the menu to Zhao Yanran. Zhao Yanran is also considered to be very rich. Looking at the price above, she secretly slapped her tongue. Are these two people eating like this every day? Just a dish is a dozen yuan, and the more expensive ones are tens of yuan. It's too expensive, order a tiramisu. Lu Feng casually ordered some steak and other side dishes. It seemed that the average person was more than 100 yuan, and he asked for a bottle of red wine. "Have you started production yet?" Zhao Yanran asked. "Not yet, I just decided the venue today. It is estimated that it will take a few days. I can't figure it out." Zhang Xiaoyan took a sip of tea and said, "If you don't understand something, you still need to ask Sister Yanran for more advice." "Oh, no problem, big sister, you look like someone who is easy to talk to. I like to deal with you the most." Zhao Yanran expressed her sincerity and said, "If you do something high-end, you must use materials. To be accurate, this is how the industry is, the raw materials are a little more expensive, and the profit is gone. I also heard this afternoon. They say better lipsticks are made with refined castor oil and wax oil. Yes, yes, I happen to know a family, and they have done a very good job in this area. Lu Feng was sitting there drinking tea. With his eyes, he could see at a glance what Zhao Yanran wanted to do. Everyone was a competitor. It would be benevolent and righteous not to stumble upon you. He also rushed to introduce the supply of raw materials. Business. There is no such kind person in the world. Lu Feng didn't say anything. He could see that Zhang Xiaoyan was very happy, and he wasn't doing it as a business. Happiness was the most important thing. There were some things that she needed to experience slowly. Lu Feng has the money and the ability to let her mess around within the limits set by her. It took more than an hour for this meal, and Lu Feng didn't say 10 words in total. Zhang Xiaoyan and Zhao Yanran chatted endlessly, and the contract was signed in just one meal, and they chatted about a dozen suppliers. The sky was getting dark, and the heat in the air began to dissipate. The breeze was blowing, and the big willow trees on both sides of the road swayed with the wind, making people feel a little comfortable. Lu Feng and Zhang Xiaoyan said goodbye to Zhao Yanran. She looked at Lu Feng's brows, and she couldn't say she was happy, and asked, "Let's hurry up." According to the vacancy in the market that Sister Zhao said, the productivity of our factory is definitely not enough. The scale of production can be expanded. Business needs to be stable first, and then let's talk about stability. Also, market research must be done by yourself. The data from other people's mouths may be all fake. Lu Feng didn't want to pour cold water on her. Seeing her like this, it's time for her cool down. If there is really such a big market potential, why don't people do it? Zhang Xiaoyan was stunned for a moment, pondered for a moment, and said, "It makes sense, but there is indeed a vacancy in the market in this regard, and we are heading in the right direction." Don't trust her completely. Lu Feng took her hand and said, "I believe that a big man in the cosmetics industry is on the rise. Go buy some of the latest magazines, take a look at the styles, and then draw some drawings and get some ideas." Zhang Xiaoyan stood there and thought for a while, making time for herself. "Read the magazine before 9 o'clock, study the news I got today, call Mr. Qian from 9 to 10:30 to discuss tomorrow's affairs, wash up at 10:30, and then live a married life." Lu Feng heard her muttering in a low voice. He was already on the spot, and he was so busy that he still refused to let him go. The only thing that is fortunate is that her life has indeed been enriched a lot, and she is no longer like before, lying on a sun lounger and watching the sea and the beach every day. After I went back, I bought a lot of the latest cosmetics magazines. I was dazzled by all kinds of products. Lu Feng really didn't know anything about this industry. Zhang Xiaoyan kept looking at it, kept writing, and called Qian Nana from time to time. "How about this color? Compared with the previous one, which one looks better?" Zhang Xiaoyan showed Lu Feng a photo and asked, "I think young girls will like this one." "Aren't these two the same color?" Lu Feng said speechlessly. "This is maroon, this is dark red, and now this darker color is popular, it's cool." Lu Feng. I settled on 4 lipsticks in one night. According to the price of raw materials on the market, the cost is about 2 yuan. If the retail price is 6 or 7 yuan, the profit is acceptable. If it is second-hand, it will be 10 yuan. Zhang Xiaoyan held the phone all night, and has gradually taken on the appearance of a boss. She no longer speaks in a state of inquiry, but also has an idea in her heart and begins to issue orders. At 11 o'clock in the evening, the lights in the room went out, and the moonlight outside the window was so bright, Lu Feng felt a little tired lying on the bed, more tired than dealing with a day's work in GFN Electronics. Mainly listening to a group of women chatting, their brains hurt, and they also scored various shades, such as foundation cream, whitening cream, foundation, and serum. Lu Feng felt that they were doing chemical experiments. Tomorrow, the factory will be cleaned up, and they will report to work. I should call Feng Xia. Zhang Xiaoyan was still muttering, and slowly leaned towards Lu Feng, her small head squeezed over, and asked, I feel like she should know this. If the X factory price is 2 yuan, our profit is only 1 yuan, and according to this calculation, if we look at those 8 cents today, the cost is at most 3 or 4 cents, no wonder it is so difficult to use. Go to bed early, aren't you tired? Lu Feng took a deep breath, feeling tired from the depths of his soul. What are you sleeping for? It's not finished yet. Finished what? What do you say? In the darkness, Zhang Xiaoyan didn't feel ashamed at all. She turned over and rode directly on. Lu Feng lay on the bed and looked at the quartz clock on the wall. It was 11:40. He felt that his whole body had been hollowed out. This feeling of physical and mental exhaustion had not been seen for many years. Accompanying Zhang Xiaoyan to start a business felt more tiring than starting a business on her own. She closed her eyes and hurried to sleep. Zhang Xiaoyan, who was beside her, groped again. The next morning, Zhang Xiaoyan stood by the bed wearing an apron, patted Lu Feng with her hand and said, Get up. Ah, Lu Feng gave Zhang Xiaoyan a dazed look. She was wearing an apron and smelled of kitchen fumes. Her long hair was tied into a ball. Her eyes seemed to have stars, with a faint smile on her face, and her whole person showed a charm and spirit, the taste of a young woman. Aren't you sleepy? Lu Feng looked at her and asked. It's not sleepy. You've slept for 10 hours. If you're tired, I'll go to the factory in the morning. Breakfast is on the table. Zhang Xiaoyan couldn't bear to see how tired he was. Lu Feng got up and wanted to go with her, but he was too tired after breakfast, so he let Zhang Xiaoyan go alone and went back to the bedroom. Lu Feng went to the bed and called out, busy during the day, tired at night, it's a shame to be a man. Zhang Xiaoyan drove the car to the gate of the factory alone. At this moment, for the first time, she felt that she could still live like this, as if she had reached the highlight of her life. Walking out of the car door, stepping on high heels and entering the factory, Qian Nana was already waiting with a group of people. Seeing Zhang Xiaoyan coming alone, she said, Mr. Zhang, good morning. Hello, Mr. Zhang. All kinds of greetings came and went. Zhang Xiaoyan was just a housewife before, how can she have such a high status in society, and she was a little flirtatious in an instant. Boss is so pretty. It's too pretty, isn't it? Let me tell you, I have seen many female bosses, and President Zhang is definitely the most beautiful, like a fairy. Zhang Xiaoyan had a smile on the corner of her mouth. She was in a good mood. She waved at Qian Nana and said, let's have a meeting. The kind that turns from a housewife, turns gorgeously, wears beautiful clothes, and becomes a beautiful and attractive beauty president, which is what every woman wants to have. This is also one of the methods of micro-businesses in later generations. No matter whether you have achievements or not, whether you make money or not, you will first press on the general name, and then start to walk the red carpet, so that you have an illusion of success and attention. This kind of situation has little effect on men. When Lu Feng was in the canning workshop, he was serious about money, and he didn't care about some false names. Maybe this is the fundamental difference between men and women. 7 people came here today, responsible for workshop production, finance, personnel, sales, product design, and other affairs. This small factory is considered to be fully staffed. After recruiting some assembly line employees, it can be officially put into production. Mr. Zhang, this is the salary table. According to our preliminary budget, 150 ordinary workers were recruited in the early stage. In addition to our 8-person management, the salary is estimated to be 50,000 yuan. Do you think there is a problem? Qian Nana handed over the payroll. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at it seriously. If Lu Feng was here and heard the salary, he would probably slap the report on her face on the spot. The salary of an ordinary worker is about 200 yuan, 30,000 yuan for 150 people, plus 10,000 yuan for Qian Nana. That is to say, these 7 people will receive a high salary of 10,000 yuan. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 360. Qian Nana's salary is rare in this type of factory. The following people in charge should be priced between 500 and 1000 yuan, but now the average is in the early 1000s. Zhang Xiaoyan didn't know much about the current labor market prices, so she flipped through it and nodded, yes, just pay at this rate. Today is the first day of your visit. Let me introduce you. When Qian Nana heard this, she smiled at the 7 people, as if to say, I have told you all, this family is a fool, and it is not bad for money, so just stay here with peace of mind. These managers are also veterans of the small factory. Some are in charge of recruiting workers, and some are in charge of running the market. Qian Nana, the designer girl, and Zhang Xiaoyan set the design drawings. The cosmetics city is still full of people, and a large number of goods are sent out every day. Zhao Yan ran dressed up today and walked towards the counter on high heels. How was business in the morning? The goods worth 10,000 yuan were taken by Mr. Wang and the others. Keep an account. Zhao Yan ran nodded, and was about to go to the next counter to have a look when a woman from the opposite door came over and said with a frown, Mr. Zhao, how are you talking to those 2? Don't worry, those 2 fools can't get away, the business is definitely yours, and after it's done, you can score me points, Zhao Yan Ran said with a smile. Really? Yesterday, I came to ask about the goods, and I saw that they were completely too amateurs. The woman knew a little bit of lipstick, and the man looked like a fool. The woman covered her mouth and laughed, looking around. He glanced at it and said, what price do you want? Don't open your mouth and scare people away. I told her, your goods are good, as long as you don't have any price competitiveness, it's good to be 2 or 3 floors higher than the market. Also, don't show your face. Now, people know it, let your sister go to contact. I know, I still understand the truth, so thank you Mr. Zhao. Oh, I've been an old neighbor for so many years, what is Mr. Zhao's? Mr. Zhao and he has made a fortune together. The 2 politely said a few words, and the woman took out 2 gift boxes from under the counter and sent them over. After another polite push, Zhao Yan Ran finally accepted it. When Lu Feng woke up, it was almost noon. He called Zhang Xiaoyan's factory office and asked, but he still hadn't eaten. He went out to buy vegetables, cooked food, packed it in a lunch box, and drove to the factory. In the office, Zhang Xiaoyan was eating with big mouthfuls, still muttering about some drawings. What market? Lu Feng laughed when he saw how busy she was. He sat there with his chin on his hand, looked at her pretty face, and asked, is it delicious? You don't even come up with ideas for me, go to see the raw materials in the afternoon, there are a lot of things for me to handle, and you will cook a meal. Zhang Xiaoyan's cheeks bulged, chewing on the food, indescribably cute. I'll be the strong backing of President Zhang, isn't it? I feel like I have a lot of things today, and I can't handle it completely. My professional knowledge reserve is relatively small. What if I lose? Zhang Xiaoyan was a little panicked. Her current mood is like a roller coaster. One moment she thought she was the richest woman in the future, and the next second she felt that her money was going to waste. Lu Feng smiled helplessly, her worry is completely unnecessary, isn't it a sure thing to lose money? How can you lose? You are a business genius, that is 1 in a million. Besides, I didn't say that you would do it at the beginning. If you lose this time, you will continue to start a business, and you will always succeed. Failure is success. Well, Lu Feng encouraged. Zhang Xiaoyan laughed a little embarrassedly, and then ate with her head down. What do you want to eat at night? I'll make it for you. Lu Feng suddenly felt that cooking at home and being a housewife would be interesting. At least he didn't have to distinguish so many lipstick colors, which made his eyes hurt. Fried shredded potatoes, shredded pork with sauce-flavored sauce, mix one piece, cover it with rice, and then another piece of braised pork, half fat, half lean, red, take a mouthful of rice, a mouthful of vegetables, and then take a big bite of the fat slices. Oops. Zhang Xiaoyan herself is too beautiful. This kind of meal is her dream. She has mentioned it to Lu Feng more than once. When she is hungry, her biggest dream is to eat such a meal. Okay, no problem. I don't think I'm good enough. You can accompany me in the afternoon. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at Lu Feng and said. I'm home to cook, how can a woman say no? Lu Feng teased her deliberately, you have to fight a family. If you can't, who do I rely on? You, Zhang Xiaoyan laughed angrily at him. After eating, Zhang Xiaoyan held a brief meeting, and then went to see the raw materials. The table was filled with all kinds of documents, which were messy. The workers outside came in batches. Life was a bit noisy. Lu Feng picked up the payslip on the table and glanced at it. Played for more than a year, and now it seems that it is estimated that it will be played until the end of the year. After arranging the lunch box, Lu Feng was just about to go out, when Qian Nana turned back. What's wrong? Mr. Jiang's bag was not taken, Qian Nana said as she picked up a bag. Mr. Qian, you know the situation of this factory better than I do. It's almost all right. I read the salary slip. It's high. You can lower it a bit, you know, Lu Feng said solemnly. The salary is not high, it's the market price, Mr. Lu, this is what you get for every penny, and they are all capable people. Really? According to the ability you said, wouldn't the factory be able to make a profit immediately? The market, no one knows. President Zhang is still waiting for me. You, just cook and take care of President Zhang. Qian Nana waved her hand and said and left. After going out, Qian Nana's face was not very good looking, and she muttered and cursed a silly comparison. In the afternoon, at the counter on the east side of the cosmetics market, a woman of 27 or 18 was selling things, and Zhao Yanran stood beside her to help with the sales. This product, if you go to other people's house, you can't get the price at this price. I'm just looking at Mr. Zhao's face. The woman's face was sinking, as if she lost money on this order. It's a bit expensive, Zhang Xiaoyan kept calculating the total cost on the paper. According to the price she inquired before, the raw material cost of wax oil was 30% higher. It's not expensive, it's all at this price, you can go to other homes and ask. Zhao Yanran persuaded her from the side, save face for my sister, Zhang is always a big factory, and I won't always buy from you in the future, so keep the price down. Mr. Zhao, you can't lower the price here. If you still help her lower the price, we two friends don't do it. The woman was full of anger and threw the quotation sheet into the trash can. Who are you looking at? I'm doing business for you, and you're looking at me, don't you? Zhang Xiaoyan had seen this kind of battle, and she was so moved that she pulled Zhao Yanran and said, Sister Zhao, don't be too embarrassed, people have to make money, don't they? This is my best friend. She just opened a factory. I have come all the way to start a business. I know that the road to opening a factory is not easy. I just want to help her. Is it so difficult? Let me tell you, Zhao Yanran, are here. This piece has been around for so many years, you should know what I am and what my temperament is. I tell you, at this price, give me the goods. The woman sat there and cried, choked, and said, "I really can't sell it. With this kind of quality and this price, I'm losing money, sister." Zhang Xiaoyan's eyes were so moved that she kept choking, holding Zhao Yanran with her hand, and said, "I think this price is okay, thank you, Sister Zhao. People say that the businessman's handout, Sister Zhao, you really are seriously." Qian Nana thought that Zhao Yanran was very nice to Zhang Xiaoyan at first, but as her words became more and more excessive, she felt that something was wrong. "Isn't this just singing red face and white face? Mr. Zhao, that's it, I'll give you a face, today is completely for your face, you can't let me lose money, but I won't make a penny, I'll make a friend, the friend you Zhao Shun made. I believe this President Zhang can also make friends." The woman wiped her tears and said, "I'll give you the cost price, but you need to buy more, otherwise I won't be able to produce and I won't be able to explain it." "How many?" "Buy 3 tons at a time." 3 tons. A lipstick uses about 3 grams of wax oil. 3 tons. Even if the business is good, does it have to be used in the year of the monkey and the month of the horse? Zhang Xiaoyan hesitated. This amount is too large, even if it is used for bankruptcy, it will not be used up. "Don't think too much, it won't be delivered at one time, you use it first, and then send it slowly. Even if you don't want to use it one day, you can return it. Besides, the wax oil will not be damaged, so keep it for more than 10 years. Years are fine." "That's right, maybe it will increase in value in a few years." Zhang Xiaoyan also did ask other suppliers, "This price is indeed relatively cheap, the problem is, it is too much, there will be a backlog of money in it." "Mr. Zhang, wax oil is the most important raw material for lipstick, it's right to stock up more." Zhao Yanran saw her hesitation and persuaded, "Anyway, if you want to use it, the price will increase today if you save it, and if it will be out of stock tomorrow, you can put it there at any time. It can be used, and I'm not afraid of bad, I'm here to guarantee, if the funds cannot be turned around, I'll give you a refund. Should I go back and discuss with my man, this money is not a minority." Zhang Xiaoyan hesitated. Forget it, if you don't do the business, you'll lose money anyway. If you are so embarrassed, just pull it down and do the business. Go back and discuss this money with the man, pull it down." Zhang Xiaoyan was in a hurry. She was so provoked by her, and said, "Then buy it. 3 tons is a bit too much. Can you buy 2 tons first?" Okay, for President Zhao's face, 2 tons is 2 tons," the woman said with a look of loss on her face. The noise here has long secretly attracted many people to prick up their ears. Did you hear me? Damn, someone bought 2 tons of wax oil. Where did you find such a fool? I don't know, this is no longer a big fish, this Nima is a whale. 2 tons of wax oil? What year and month will it be produced? There are really too many fools these days, and there are not enough liars. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 361. Qian Nana followed her all the time. She knew the market price better than anyone about wax oil, a necessities for lipstick production, but she didn't say a word from beginning to end. Zhang Xiaoyan signed the contract, and Zhao Yanran stood behind her with a wide-eyed smile. For such an idiot, losing half a year is overestimating her. Happy cooperation, the woman held Zhang Xiaoyan's hand tightly and said excitedly, Mr. Zhang is really a hero among women. This kind of assertiveness that is different from ordinary people is rare among women, and you have executive power like you. The boss is definitely the future rich woman. Several people complimented her, flattering constantly, saying that Zhang Xiaoyan was a little embarrassed. They also analyzed her from different directions, and finally came to the conclusion that if you buy it, you will earn it. Zhao Yanran looked at the time and said, Mr. Zhang has already taken the most successful step. The lipstick market is very competitive, and there are some things you don't know much about. Let's go, I'll be the host, let's go have a big meal and give President Zhang talk about some unknown things in this industry. No, just treat me, Zhang Xiaoyan said politely. It's okay, they're all sisters. How can I invite you to treat me every day? Let's go. Zhao Yanran made a final decision, go to the Jiangnan family. Lu Feng slept at home, woke up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, drove out the motorboat that had been on hold for a long time, and went for a lap at sea. There were many little girls on the coast in the distance playing there. All of them were wearing extremely cool clothes. Lu Feng dragged a few around for a while, and the little girl who provoked them screamed again and again. There were also a few who secretly gave in, saying that they could have a meal and a drink together in the evening. Lu Feng glanced at the time. It was time to go back to buy vegetables and cook. He politely declined the requests of several little girls, rushed over from the sea, changed his clothes and went to the vegetable market. After preparing the meal, lying on the sofa and watching TV, the whole person is indescribably comfortable. This kind of life is simply not too comfortable. Sometimes I think about it, it is not unacceptable to be a housewife and a man. It was dark outside and Zhang Xiaoyan hadn't come back yet. Lu Feng stood at the door and glanced at the time. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening, so he went back to the living room and called the factory. It turned out that after President Zhang went out with President Jian in the afternoon, he never came back. After waiting until 9:30 in the evening, a car stopped at the door, and Jian Nana staggered back with Zhang Xiaoyan, who was full of alcohol. What's wrong? Lu Feng supported her. Zhang Xiaoyan did look a little drunk, and she snuggled into Lu Feng's arms. I signed a big order in the afternoon, and Mr. Zhao treated the guests. Mr. Zhang was happy, so he drank more. Jian Nana said to Lu Feng, it's getting late, I'll go back first, can I drive the car away? It's not easy to take a taxi here. Okay, I'll take her to the factory tomorrow. Lu Feng nodded. Lu Feng looked at the drunk Zhang Xiaoyan in his arms and sighed. He seemed to be beginning to understand her. Didn't he often go home late before? I don't know how uneasy she is on those nights when the food is ready and waiting anxiously. Let me tell you, money is not a problem, I have money, 300,000 and 500,000 is not called money, to do big business you have to have a lot of money, the lipstick market, vomit. Yo yo yo. Lu Feng hurriedly hugged her and walked out the door, shouting, don't vomit at home, I don't want to clean up. Don't underestimate me. After the past few days, doing business is very simple. Do you look down on me? No, how dare I look down on President Zhang? Lu Feng hugged her and walked to the beach at the door. I tell you, from today onwards, I will have my own career, and I will never let my children say that my father is doing a great job, and my mother will cook, and the food is not as delicious as my father's, and I will not. It will make him look down on the Lu family, as if I am not worthy of him, still an old hen who can't lay eggs. Lu Feng stopped in his rush to the beach, staring at her dazedly. Under the mix of moonlight and light, Zhang Xiaoyan's face was a bit of a drunken blush. You are worthy of me. No one looks down on you. You are so beautiful and considerate. You are thinking too much about yourself. Lu Feng wanted to say a few more words, but Zhang Xiaoyan couldn't wait. Vomit. Lu Feng hurriedly made her crouch on the ground, turned his head and ran home, took out the towel and water, crouched beside her and patted her on the back lightly. I don't understand anything. I'm like a fool. When I go out to travel with Duo, everyone is an undergraduate and a graduate student. The last time I was a little star, I sang, danced, and played the piano on stage. You are better than me. I graduated from elementary school. You are the highly educated person I look up to, and you are so beautiful. As if she couldn't hear Lu Feng's words, Zhang Xiaoyan knelt on the ground and said to herself, I don't even dare to tell people how rich you are. Those women in kindergarten are like fox spirits, especially those divorced. Their education is very high, they know a lot. I'm like a fool. I listened to those women chatting, and they were all robbed of their positions by younger girls. All of those girls had unique skills. Not only were they beautiful, but they were proficient in playing, and singing, and I didn't know anything. Woohoo. Zhang Xiaoyan began to cry while talking, and Lu Feng hurriedly put his arms around her and said, I'm not looking for a troupe. I want to play, and sing. I want you to earn so much money. It's not just for you to live a good life. Well, I'm so stressed. I stay at home every day. My mother called me and asked me if I was pregnant. She kept telling me that if I couldn't get pregnant, you definitely didn't want me. Let me fake pregnancy, anyway. It is adopted, and I will adopt a boy without telling you, but I can't do it. I also want to have my own child. Every time your mother calls me, I don't know what to say. I can't explain it for the new year this year. You never care about family affairs. Your relatives know that you are making a fortune now, and keep saying that you should give. The old Lu family has added incense, saying that my family is not worthy of yours. Listening to her spitting bitterness, Lu Feng hugged her even more distressedly, and comforted, you can completely ignore them, our family will deal with whomever we want to deal with. We are rich, those people should look up to them. Why are you still being bullied by them? Don't worry, I will always love you, no matter what you become. I'm going to be the boss. Well, be a big boss, a boss bigger than me. How do you prove that you love me? Come on, give me a kiss. As soon as Lu Feng approached, her smell of alcohol was so suffocating that she couldn't help but step back. Vomit. You despise me, woo-woo. Zhang Xiaoyan's crying pear blossoms are raining, and she can feel that her drink is still worth it. She said all the words in her heart and cried out, which is a kind of vent. Lu Feng kissed her on the cheek for a long time. After a long time, he finally spit it out and rinsed his mouth. The alcohol was already on his head. Zhang Xiaoyan's head was thrust into Lu Feng's arms, and his mouth was grunting. I made a big order. My wife is amazing, this is the opening. Bought 2 tons of wax oil. Lu Feng. 2 tons. That is to say, Lu Feng's family has a great business. If ordinary entrepreneurs hear this number, they will take it on the spot. You, entrepreneurial genius, Lu Feng hugged her and praised her. Sister Zhao is very kind to me. Zhang Xiaoyan whispered to the people she knew. She was very simple. When others were a little nice to her, she would take her heart out. Maybe it was because there were too few people who were good to her, so she showed good at everyone, whether it was true or not. Are extremely cherished. A few minutes later, she fell asleep in Lu Feng's arms. Although it was midsummer in August, the night wind by the sea was a bit gloomy. Lu Feng picked her up, put her on the bed, and covered the quilt. He went downstairs, sat at the dining table and finished eating. He knew what Zhang Xiaoyan was thinking, she just wanted to prove herself, and Lu Feng also wanted her to prove herself. However, in the current situation, her character is not suitable for doing business, and there is no one who makes her a charity by doing business. Lu Feng didn't participate in this matter, he just didn't want her to feel that he was helping her. In this situation, if he didn't take action, he wouldn't be able to survive even 2 months. The 2 million yuan was almost half spent, and the product has not yet been produced. Come out. After dinner, Lu Feng called Qian Nana. Hey, who is it? It's me, Lu Feng. Lu Feng asked first, did you go back? Already home, thank you Mr. Lu for your concern. It's good to get home. I want to ask, what is the situation of 2 tons of wax oil? Even if it is produced by a large factory, it can't be used up for a while. Besides, this kind of bulk commodity can be bought at any time. Why did you buy so much at once? How much did it cost? It's mainly because of how cheap it is to buy. It is more than 300,000 yuan per ton, and it can be returned if it can't be used up. I thought it was a necessity anyway, Qian Nana explained. How to refund? Where to refund? What are the procedures? How many working days will the refund be received? Who will guarantee it? Lu Feng threw out the key questions. Qian Nana didn't expect that Lu Feng thought the question was so sharp, so he pondered for a long time and said, I don't know this very well, it was Mr. Zhao who helped to discuss it at the time, you should call her bar. Lu Feng got Zhao Yanran's phone number and called. Who is it? In the evening Zhao Yanran on the other end of the phone was a little dissatisfied. It's me, Lu Feng, Zhang Xiao Yan's man. I would like to ask, what happened to the 2 tons of wax oil? Over 700,000 yuan of funds were suddenly suppressed, Lu Feng said solemnly. It's a business. If you like it, the contract has been signed. If you don't like it, you can pay the liquidated damages and cancel the contract. Zhao Yanran on the other end of the phone didn't care about her voice. Earn some liquidated damages, that would be great. 2 tons of wax oil is not easy to produce. My family doesn't treat you badly, so your conscience won't hurt when you do this kind of game, Lu Feng scolded. In business, what kind of conscience do you tell me? I didn't cheat on you when I negotiated a good price, and it's not that I didn't give you the goods. The two of you are very interesting. The one who is responsible for buying, you are responsible for going back. Zhao Yanran, the voice seemed a bit sharp. Who the hell buys 2 tons of wax oil? I'll sell you. What your wife did, she said she's cheating on you. What can you do to me? Tell you, give you a memory, don't humming call me, you're going to sleep. After Zhao Yanran finished speaking, she hung up the phone. High-speed text handwriting returns to the 1989 chapter list.